All 5 officers booked into jail, each charged with second-degree murder, among other charges. This graphic photo showing Nichols in his hospital bed, bruised and battered after the January 7th traffic stop.
Man, welcome back to another episode of the Ruling Class Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Didi, back up in this witch with another video. And today we have breaking news coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. There was a very tragic situation that took place that caused someone to lose their life and caused 5 police officers to be arrested for that person losing their life, right? And before we get into the story, I just want to say there's 3 reasons why I'm covering this story. 1, because it's a tragic story. It's a very unfortunate situation that took place. 2, it's basically home for me. Memphis, Tennessee is just right there. It's about 2 hours away from where I live. I've lived in Memphis before. I have family that live in Memphis, and I have inside knowledge on what the state of Memphis is like since the situation has taken place. And the last reason I want to cover this story is to kind of talk about my predictions on how it is I think things are going to be, in the following days since this situation has taken place, which was yesterday, right? So before we get into it, we're going to go ahead and react to the news clip coming out of Memphis, Tennessee. Let's see what they're talking about.
5 former Memphis police officers have just been charged with kidnapping and murder.
The DA said that while each officer played a different role, all of their actions resulted in a man's death.
On January 7th, police pulled over Tyree Nichols on suspicion of reckless driving. He took off running and a confrontation occurred. Nichols died 3 days later, and his family says the video of that arrest will show a savage beating reminiscent of the infamous Rodney King video from 32 years ago.
The 5 former officers who arrested Nichols were fired for violating policies on excessive force, duty to intervene, and duty to render aid. The city of Memphis just announced plans to release video of Nichols' arrest about 24 hours from now, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Faith Abube reports from Washington.
Tonight, Memphis on edge as the investigation into 5 former police officers accused of violently beating Tyree Nichols, causing his death, takes a new turn. The Shelby County District Attorney addressing the community amid growing pressure to hold the former officers accountable.
While each of the 5 individuals played a different role in the incident in question, the actions of all of them resulted in the death of Tyree Nichols, and they are all responsible.
All 5 officers booked into jail, each charged with second-degree murder, among other charges. This graphic photo showing Nichols in his hospital bed, bruised and battered after the January 7th traffic stop. He died just 3 days later. A family attorney claims police body cam footage shows the officers beat Nichols nonstop for 3 minutes, kicked him, pepper sprayed him, and tased him as he cried, "What did I do?"
Once the video started and I heard my son's voice, I lost it. I couldn't stay in the room because all I heard him say was, "What did I do?"
All 5 officers and the victim are African-American men. The officers were already fired before being charged. Memphis police say the body cam video will be released. Overnight, Police Chief C.J. Davis bracing the public for what that video shows.
This incident was heinous, reckless, and inhumane. And in the vein of transparency, when the video is released in the coming days, you will see this for yourselves.
And law enforcement sources tell ABC News that Memphis city officials and police were expecting demonstrators to take to the streets once the video is released. Now, some of the police leaders themselves have privately compared the video to the 1991 brutal LAPD beating of Rodney King. They are now hoping that any protests in this case will remain peaceful.
Now, look, I'll just go ahead and say this now. If we've learned anything about the media in the last 10, 15 years, I'm only 28 years old, I've learned that the media will lie. The media will leave out very important information. The media will tell half-truths, right? They have a history of doing this in order to paint the narrative that they want. Now, regardless of the fact, I don't see any circumstances where it is probably justified that a person lost their life by 5 police officers, right? So that's very unfortunate. But nonetheless, I think the releasing of this body cam footage will be critical, which is why I wanted to go ahead and put a video out before, because the body cam footage is supposed to come out 6 p.m. today. I plan to have this video out at least a few hours before that, so that I can maybe, come afterwards and do an analysis of the actual body cam footage. Now, they're comparing this to a Rodney King, the Rodney King situation that took place back in 1991, and they're even comparing it to the George Floyd situation. So this has to be very bad for I believe it's the lieutenant or the sergeant to get on television and say, to basically for people to brace themselves on what it is that they're about to see, for them to actually fire the police officers before they even charged them, and then to actually charge 5 police officers with second-degree murder is insane to me. And it tells us that this had to be very brutal. But again, I think, if I've learned anything from the past few years, I've learned to wait before you just react or you jump to a complete final conclusion, right? You want to get all the details. And for them to just say that the guy was just asking, what did I do? For 5 police officers to beat you to death, I would like to hope that there was something more that took place. I don't know if drugs were involved. I don't know if he tried to attack the police officers, which would not have been a smart thing to do. But this is very unfortunate. And from what I'm hearing out in Memphis, from the people that live in Memphis, the people I'm close to, this is real, right? They're saying that the town is on edge, the city is on edge, and based on what this body cam footage could show, there could be a protest, like very major protests that take place. There's already been some sort of uproar so far from the so-called black community, and so that's great to hear because these were black police officers, which take me to my last point. But before we get to our last point, I want you all to take a listen to what it is that they're anticipating is going to take place if this body cam footage is as bad as the Memphis Police Department is stating that it is. Let's take a listen.
Isn't just in Memphis. New here at 6 o'clock, WBZ's Christina Hager shows us what police here are doing to get ready for the possibility of protests.
This is what happened in Boston more than 2 years ago after George Floyd was murdered at the hands of a Minneapolis police officer.
Here are the charges.
Now Memphis officials announced plans to release video Friday night. 5 former officers there facing murder charges in the alleged beating of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols, who died 3 days later.
I've seen the video, and as D.A. Mulroy stated, you will too. In a word, it's absolutely appalling.
It has community leaders here more than 1,000 miles from Memphis urging calm.
In Boston, there is a history of responding to crimes such as this. So I would not be surprised that there is turnout on the street in terms of what we may witness in this video.
According to I-Team sources, Massachusetts State Police are now denying any requests for time off as they prepare for any possible public reaction to body cam video of the traffic stop in question down in Memphis.
I've been talking to police officials in different cities across the country, and everybody is on notice. Everybody's activated.
WBZ security analyst Ed Davis says releasing the video after sunset on Friday is not ideal.
I just hope it doesn't boil over like it has in the past, but I think there's a real possibility we could see trouble across the country.
My greatest concern is that the turnout will be one that pushes for reform and justice, and that we will turn out in ways that are loving and that are empathetic.
That would be nothing new for Boston. Calls for peace in uncertain times.
Now, look, if you're asking me, Demetrius, Didi, do you believe that it will get as bad as they say that it's going to get? In complete honesty, I'm not sure. I don't know. But if you had to put me in a corner and have me to give you a yes or no, I'm probably going to say no. Yeah, I'm probably going to say no. For one, I mean, we just got to call a spade a spade. A lot of times in history, us so-called black people, black Americans, we let a lot of things slide. That's just the truth. We let a lot of things slide. We let people get away with a lot of things in our society, in our culture, in our communities, with no backlash. We complain amongst ourselves, but we really don't do anything as a collective, right? And another reason, probably the biggest reason, is because I just don't feel like this fits the narrative. I don't feel like this goes along with the storyline that they want to hear. What do you mean, Didi? These were 5 black police officers. 5 black police officers, right? What they normally want to push in the media is that it's always racially motivated. Yes, do I believe that play a role sometimes? Absolutely. But I don't believe it plays a role to the extent that they say. I think they do that thing to create division. I think they do that thing to create chaos, right? Control a lot of chaos. That's a Masonic tactic. that I think has been used for a lot of, for many years, something I've talked about on this channel many times before. So I don't believe that they're going to push this thing to the forefront, to the national level. I could be wrong, absolutely. But if 5 black police officers killing a black man just don't fit what it is that they want to force into, into the subconscious of us as people, to the masses, right? Which brings me to my last point. I want you all to keep that same energy. Black people, white people, everybody, keep that same energy. All y'all, Black Lives Matter. All y'all that was raising hell about Derek Chauvin putting his knee on George Floyd's neck, which was absolutely wrong. And I believe he should have been put in jail the way that he was put in jail. But the way that you raised hell about that, you need to be raising hell about this as well. If this body cam footage is just as bad, we're going to need, what's the pastor name that seems to be at the forefront of all the black situations that need national attention? I need all of y'all to raise hell. I need y'all to go in on these police officers and demand justice, right? They're already being charged, I understand. But I'm just saying, it seems like when it's somebody that's white that does it, like I say, Black Lives Matter except in the womb. Black Lives Matter unless another black person is killing a black person. No, we need to cut that out. The Black Lives Matter, they matter, period. So you should be raising hell and making sure justice is served in this particular case as well. Which leads me to my last point. This is why I can never be conservative. I can never be liberal. I can never be progressive or any of that, right? I call things, situation by situation. I call things as I see them, case by case basis. Because if wrong is wrong, wrong is wrong, right is right, right is right. That's just what it is, right? And when you're a conservative, you only want to pick the things that, cater to your emotions, cater to your narrative. Same with being a liberal. When you're on the left, right? You only want to pick things that are racially motivated. If you see something like this, you act like you don't see it and you don't want to talk about it as much. No, you need to raise hell about this as well, because human life is human life, right? Y'all hop in the comment section and y'all give me y'all, thoughts and opinions on this, because again, the body cam footage comes out at 6 p.m. today. We're going to see what that's talking about. And if you all want to see that and want me to cover that and break that down and piece by piece with the analysis that I typically do, hop in the comment section and let me know. Until next time, peace.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.